the Rambler Network.
Hello, welcome back to the Casablanca. In this episode, I'm covering Cobra Kai. Yeah, I feel like Cobra Kai was too big to discuss with, the rest of the series, so I was like, I'm just going to make it its own episode. So, Cobra Kai dropped on YouTube Red back in 2018. Do you remember YouTube Red? Yeah. It could have been a total nostalgia cash grab. The kind of thing that leans on crane kicks and catchphrases without saying anything new, but instead, it does something way smarter. It flips the perspective. We open not with Daniel, but with Johnny Lawrence. 34 years after getting kicked in the face at the All Valley tournament, Johnny's life is a mess. He's washed up, broke, drinking warm Coors, and living in a dingy apartment next to a bunch of people who'd rather he just disappear. Meanwhile, Daniel LaRusso, thriving. He owns a successful car dealership, lives in a gorgeous house, and gives out bonsai trees with every purchase. And right away, you start to question everything. Because yeah, Johnny was the bad guy in the original movie, but was he really evil? Or was he just a messed up teenager with a toxic mentor and no real guidance? Rewatching the original film with Cobra Kai in mind, you start to see just how thin the line was. Daniel wasn't always the innocent new kid. He instigated a few things, escalated some others, and definitely threw the first punch more than once. From Johnny's perspective, Daniel came out of nowhere, hit on his ex, got him in trouble with his sensei, and then beat him in front of everyone. Season 1 leans into that ambiguity. It doesn't rewrite the past. It reframes it. It lets you sit in the uncomfortable truth that maybe everyone was a little wrong. And suddenly, this rivalry becomes more than nostalgia. It becomes a study of how we carry old wounds into adulthood. When Johnny reopens Cobra Kai to train a new generation of misfits, starting with Miguel, a sweet kid who just wants to defend himself, it feels almost noble. But then you see those old no mercy instincts creeping back in. You see how fast the cycle repeats when you haven't healed. And Daniel, at first, he seems like the one who has it all figured out. But the moment Cobra Kai returns, he spirals. That teenage rivalry flares back up, and when a grown adult with a family and a Lexus, he gets petty, vindictive, even a little arrogant. It's not that he's the villain now. It's that neither of them ever really got closure. And speaking of Daniel's family, I'll be honest, first time I watched season 1, I wasn't really feeling Amanda. She felt like a random insert, a modern TV wife character who was mostly there to roll her eyes and rein Daniel in. Part of me always wanted Daniel to end up with Kumiko, and Amanda just felt like a rando. But she grew on me. Especially as the show went on and we saw how grounded she is, how sharp, and how often she's the only adult in the room. Later, they reveal she does have a connection to the original series. Her cousin is Jessica from Part 3, which I never saw coming. But honestly, by then I didn't even need that link. She'd already earned her place. Season 1 ends with Miguel winning the All Valley under Cobra Kai's banner, just like Johnny once did. But in a way, that doesn't feel triumphant. It feels off. Because he wins by fighting dirty, just like Johnny was taught to do. And Johnny sees it. In that moment, he realizes he's become Kreese, and it breaks him. And then, of course, Kreese literally walks back into the dojo. Season 2 picks up right where Season 1 left off, with Kreese stepping out of the shadows like the ghost of trauma past. Johnny's reaction is exactly what you'd expect. Conflicted, angry, uncertain. Kreese says he's changed. He says he wants to make amends. And for a while, Johnny wants to believe him, because Kreese wasn't just his sensei, he was a father figure. A terrible one, but in Johnny's mind, still the only person who ever really gave him a shot. And that's a recurring theme in Cobra Kai, how the past keeps calling even when we know it's poison. Johnny tries to reform Cobra Kai into something better. He preaches discipline and honor. He bans dirty fighting, but it's too late. The damage is done, and the students, especially Hawk, are already going full Cobra. Violence escalates, rivalries explode, and what started as just kids learning karate turns into something way darker. On the Miyagi-Do side, Daniel opens his own dojo, trying to carry on Mr. Miyagi's legacy with Robbie, Johnny's estranged son, as his star student. It's a messy triangle. Daniel mentoring Johnny's kid, Miguel training under Johnny, and both sides preparing for a fight they pretend they don't want. And then there's Tori. Introduced like a hurricane in a leather jacket, Tori doesn't just challenge Samantha LaRusso. She hates her. Her story is rough. Working class background, unstable home life, and a chip on her shoulder the size of a dojo. She's not a villain for the sake of it. She's a product of her circumstances, and she brings a rawness that Sam, for all her privilege, doesn't know how to deal with. The season builds to a finale that's as chaotic as it is inevitable, a karate brawl across the halls of West Valley High. It's beautifully shot and choreographed like an epic war scene, especially the one-take pan around the action at that last several minutes. But the emotional toll is devastating. Miguel gets kicked off a balcony by Robbie and ends up in a coma. It's the moment everything breaks. Cobra Kai implodes, Miyagi-Do fractures, and Johnny, he loses it all. Kreese takes the dojo, Robbie runs, and the last thing we see is Johnny, alone on the beach, throwing his phone into the sand. Season 3 is about consequences. Everyone's scattered, everyone's hurting, and everyone's wondering how they got there. Daniel heads to Okinawa, which feels like a love letter to the fans, and it kind of is. He reunites with Kumiko, and for a moment everything just slows down. There's peace in their scenes, nostalgia sure, but also a sense of maturity. Daniel doesn't cheat, he doesn't try to rekindle anything, he just reconnects. And when he meets Chosen, yes, that Chosen, he finds that even the most bitter rival can change. It reshapes his view of what redemption can look like. Back in the valley, Johnny is struggling to find his footing. He wants to make things right with Miguel, with Robbie, with himself. And slowly, painfully, he starts. He trains Miguel again, helping him to stand, to walk, and eventually to kick. Their bond is one of the show's biggest emotional anchors. It's not just sensei and student, it's father and son, without either of them needing to say it out loud. But the real villain now is Kreese, who recruits even more aggressive students and shows just how far he's willing to go. We also get glimpses into his past, his time in Vietnam, the trauma that shaped him. It doesn't excuse his actions, but it explains the philosophy. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Because mercy got his friends killed. His version of strength got forged in war. The season ends with another showdown, this time at the LaRusso home. And in the final moments, Daniel and Johnny finally team up against Kreese. No rivalry, no grudge, just a shared enemy and a bigger picture. And yeah, it feels good. Season 4 is all about uneasy alliances. Johnny and Daniel working together sounds great in theory, but in practice, it's a mess. Their styles couldn't be more different. Daniel teaches calm, balance, breathing. Johnny teaches groin punches, beer curls, and motivational speeches laced with 80s hair metal. Watching them try to co-teach is comedy gold. But beneath the laughs, there's growth. They begin to understand each other, not just as fighters, but as people. Johnny sees the wisdom in Miyagi-Do. Daniel learns that aggression, when controlled, has its place. It's messy, awkward, and often hilarious, but it's real progress. And then Kreese calls in reinforcements. Enter Terry Silver. Back from the madness of Part 3, Silver returns with the same high cheekbones and 10 times the menace. At first, he seems calm. He's been to therapy. He's living a quiet life. He doesn't want anything to do with karate anymore. But Kreese knows how to pull his strings, and once Silver's back in, he goes full villain. Manipulative, calculating, dangerous. He's not doing this for honor or legacy. He just wants to win. The season builds towards the All-Valley tournament, and everything hinges on that one event. If Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang lose, they have to shut down for good. The stakes are high and personal. The fights are incredible. The cinematography, the music, the character arcs. Everyone brings their A-game. Hawk redeems himself. And Tori, she wins. But discovers that Terry bribed the ref to secure her victory. It's not a clean win, and for the first time, even she feels the weight of it. Kreese, however, gets framed by Silver and hauled off to jail. And just like that, the real mastermind takes control. If Season 4 was about alliances, Season 5 is about escalation. With Kreese behind bars, Terry Silver takes Cobra Kai to the next level. He's got money, reach, and influence. And now, ambition. He's not just training kids anymore. He wants to franchise the dojo and take Cobra Kai global. It's not karate, it's empire. Daniel, realizing how dangerous Silver truly is, pulls out all the stops. He brings in Chosen from Okinawa as backup, and Chosen immediately becomes one of the best additions to the cast. He's intense, honorable, and quietly hilarious. Watching him live in Daniel's guest room while treating breakfast like a tactical briefing, iconic. Meanwhile, Johnny is trying to build a life. He's focused on Miguel, on Robbie, and on Carmen, who's now pregnant. He's still Johnny, still messy and hilarious, but there's real growth under the surface. This season finally gives us closure on a character many fans didn't expect to see again. Mike Barnes. Remember Daniel's terrifying opponent from Part 3? Daniel certainly does. He tracks Barnes down, assuming he's being recruited by Silver, and is completely prepared for a fight. But Barnes? He's just a furniture guy now. A normal dude running a store and living a quiet life. It's one of the funniest subversions in the entire show, and it speaks to Cobra Kai's gift for twisting expectations. Not everyone's stuck in the past. Some people grew up, moved on, and sells couches. The emotional heart of Season 5, though, is Tori. After winning the All-Valley under false pretenses, thanks to Silver bribing the ref, she finds herself caught between loyalty and integrity. Her decision to spy on Silver from the inside, while everyone else sees her as a traitor, adds real depth to her arc. And in contrast, Sam, once the hero, begins to unravel. Her obsession with Terry, her inability to listen or trust anyone who challenges her worldview, it starts to make her look like the villain. Not because she's evil, but because she's blinded by pride and pain. It's a brilliant inversion, and it adds so much texture to both characters. Everything culminates in a chaotic final showdown. The kids break into Cobra Kai's dojo to expose Silver, leading to a full-on karate war. And yes, even a sword fight between Chosen and Silver. It's gloriously unhinged in the best way possible. Daniel lands the final blow. Silver is exposed and arrested. Tori and Sam reconcile. Johnny and Robbie make peace, and just like that, it's over. The dojo is gone. The war is done. And honestly, it felt like the perfect ending. But then came Season 6. Season 6 opens with Sekai Takai, the global karate tournament. Sounds promising, until it wasn't. Because the first half of the season, kind of a mess. Kreese fakes his death again, and hides out in what might as well be a Batman villain lair. Cobra Kai students are training deep in the woods in secret, as if they've joined a paramilitary cult. Kim Dae-woon returns, and somehow her ancient, terrifying grandfather, Kreese and Silver Sensei, is still alive, even though by all logic he should be well over 100 by now. The show suddenly feels like it's veering into Fast and Furious territory, and not always in the good way. Then the cast flies to Barcelona for multiple episodes. It's a jarring shift. The Valley has always been the emotional heart of the show. Suburbs, malls, high school drama, strip malls, and bonsai trees. Taking the story halfway around the world adds spectacle, but at the cost of the grounded charm that made Cobra Kai special in the first place. And yet, when you think the series has lost itself, it finds the thread again. We return to the All-Valley, yes, again, because of course the global tournament finale just happens to be held there. And weirdly, It works. The tournament brings everything full circle, and the fight feels earned. The character arcs start resolving, the heart comes back, and then something truly unexpected happens. Kreese is redeemed. After all his manipulation and pain, all the damage he's caused, he chooses to help. And even more shocking, he and Johnny finally make peace. It's not a dramatic speech or a grand gesture. It's quiet, simple, two broken people finally putting it down. And somehow that moment feels like one of the most honest in the whole show. Season 6 also sprinkles in deep cuts for longtime fans, like the reappearance of one of Silver's henchmen from Part 3, now working for Kim Dae-un, and kidnapping Daniel in Barcelona, because apparently that's where we are now. Yeah, if Season 5 was epic, Season 6 is bonkers, but you kind of admire it for her swinging so big. And yet, one name is missing. Julie Pierce. Hilary Swank. The next Karate Kid might be the black sheep of the franchise, but Julie was still Miyagi's student, still part of the legacy, and while fans held out hope for a last-minute cameo, even just a passing mention, she never shows. It's the one loose thread Cobra Kai never ties up. And honestly, it stings a bit. Especially when random background characters from decades ago got their moment. Still, despite its uneven pace and wild swings, Season 6 manages to land the plane. The story ends where it began, with karate, family, and with people trying to be better than who they are. Cobra Kai should never have worked. But it did. It turned a decades-old rivalry into one of the most layered, emotionally rich character arcs on television. Even though it wasn't actually on television. It ended up moving to Netflix. It made us root for Johnny, question Daniel, and love the next generation without ever losing sight of the old. It showed us that villains can grow, that heroes can fall, and that forgiveness is harder, and more important, than any tournament win. Yes, it got weird. Yes, Season 6 nearly lost the plot, but in the end, it remembered what made the Karate Kid special in the first place. Not the kicks, not the tournaments, but the people. The pain, the healing, the legacy. So whether you're Miyagi-Do, Eagle Fang, or still rocking a sleeveless Cobra Kai hoodie, remember, balance is everything. And cut.
The Rambler Network.